guess you could say I was career focused. Either way, I'd arrived at the age of 40 without having a child, and I hadn't noticed that 40 was perceived as being old. Luke would be turning 21 in June this year, and being an older mother wasn't quite as common as perhaps it is now. I'd spent 3 years in Sydney as a consumer marketing manager for a leading computer company, and I had returned to Melbourne to friends and an affordable property in Menzies Creek. But things had changed. I'd felt isolated and dissatisfied. My closest friends had moved on. They were now married and had small children. My life had changed by virtue of theirs changing. It forced me to reflect and realise that being career-focused was no longer enough. I didn't plan to have Luke, and I hadn't deliberately avoided having children. I just hadn't entered into relationships where marriage and families were inevitable. It was years later, while studying for a diploma in community services, that I realised I had attachment disorders. It was a powerful realisation. Losing my mum suddenly at the age of 6 had set me on a life course where I avoided commitment unconsciously. Here I was at the age of 40, where the fear of having something that I loved so much to be taken from me tragically and traumatically had prevented me from putting myself into that position and embracing motherhood. But when I rekindled a relationship with Luke's father, I didn't avoid pregnancy, but I hadn't planned to get pregnant either. I was terrified initially when I realised I was pregnant and saw the test results, but my family and friends were thrilled for me, and I felt supported from the beginning. I was immediately immersed in motherhood, and I absolutely loved the connection with Luke during this time. So much so that I expressed milk before work, stored milk in the freezer, and fed him milk until he was 2 years old. And being a single mother, it wasn't easy, but it quickly became everything to me. My life adjusted around Luke, and I loved every moment of it. I had no idea that my life could be so deeply satisfying and have such purpose and meaning. The detraction from this was often managing Luke's father and what I now recognise as domestic violence. I wanted Luke to have a good relationship with his father, so I did everything I could to support their relationship without realising the consequences of where that would lead only a matter of 11 years later. Luke was only 11 years old when he was murdered by his father in such a confronting and brutal way at cricket practice in Tyabb on a hot sunny evening on the 12th of February 2014. We'd just returned from 6 weeks in the UK spending time with family, and we'd had a wonderful time. It was the start of the new school year, and it seemed that the toughest of times were behind us both, and better times were definitely ahead. Luke was in a good place. He'd settled down at school. He was no longer at the principal's office every other day. My friends and his school teachers were commenting on what a mature and well-mannered young man he was turning into. He was tall for his age, gorgeous looking, and perhaps I was biased, and already interested in girls. Losing Luke was beyond devastating. My worst fears had been realised. I had such wonderful support surround me from family and friends. I don't know how you survive something like this, but you do. The trauma of the event numbed me, perhaps even protected me. The reality, the finality, was too much to absorb and comprehend. But slowly, you're left to pick up the pieces, and as people return to their lives, you're left feeling isolated, not knowing where to fit in and where your role in life is. You're no longer a mother, no longer packing sandwich boxes, worrying about homework, worrying about him fitting in, and the disputes with friends. It becomes too uncomfortable to be around children. I saw Luke's friends start the school year as young boys and finish that same school year, graduating with deeper voices, stubble appearing on their chins, and so much taller. They were now young men. It was too much. I avoided the pain, and people didn't know how to involve or approach me. I numbed the pain by taking up smoking again, drinking wine, and immersing myself in a new advocacy role. I became Australian of the Year less than a year later, which set me on a path I wasn't prepared for and had no experience in. The stress, the pressure, the grief and anxiety challenged me and made it difficult for people to know how to be with me or even support me. But I survived. Having this new role as an advocate for survivors of family violence gave me a purpose and a meaning that I didn't think possible. It helped me move forward, painfully, but at least I was moving forward. And it's now 9 years since Luke died. I still think of him every day. He sits in my thoughts most of the time. But I'm not in the same pain. It is bearable, but still there are moments when I wonder what he'd be doing, who would he be, and that pain hits. It still feels so unfair that an innocent, beautiful little human like Luke could be taken in this way, and at times it feels that he was never even here. It was all my imagination. But I look at his photos and I enjoy sharing stories. I see his blue eyes and the dimple in his chin, and I know he's still the centre of my heart and will always mean everything to me. I'm still his mother, and I will always know the joy and privilege of bringing life into the world.